Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to talk about the 1979 Flash Gordon Lizard Woman action figure. Flash Gordon first arrived on the scene way back in 1934. King Features Syndicate wanted a new character for a comic strip to compete with the successful Buck Rogers character. Staff writer Alex Raymond was assigned to create this new character. Although his first attempt was rejected for not having enough action, he had better luck with his second attempt, and a new action hero was born. Fast forward to the late 1970s, Star Wars was taking the world by storm and rejuvenated the popularity of science fiction as a genre. NBC was convinced to take a chance on a new cartoon version of Flash Gordon, which would be animated by Filmation. Star Wars action figures had made so much money for George Lucas and Kenner that I would imagine once the Flash Gordon cartoon was underway, it was pretty easy to set up a deal with Mattel to make a line of Flash Gordon action figures in scale with the Star Wars toys. In 1979, the first 4 Flash Gordon action figures arrived in stores. They were Flash Gordon, Ming, Thun the Lion Man, and the Lizard Woman. Even on the original package back, Mattel was already advertising 2 more figures, Beastman and Dr. Zarkov, who would arrive in 1980. Around that time, you could buy 2 different sets of 3 action figures at JCPenney for $7.47 each. 2 final figures, Voltan and Captain Eric, were released after that to round out the line. I think Princess Aura and Dale Arden would have made great figures, but since toy manufacturers around that time had an aversion to adding female characters, I can kind of see why those 2 were left out in favor of the more alien-like Lizard Woman. But Prince Baron, who was also left out of the line, seems like he would have been an obvious choice for a figure, and the only reason I can think of that he may have been left out is that there were too many human characters and not enough other creatures in the line. He was certainly in more episodes of the show than the Beastmen or the Lizard Women, and they both got figures. At roughly the same time that the cartoon was being made, a live-action Flash Gordon movie starring Sam Jones was in the works. With a fun story and an awesome soundtrack by Queen, the movie came out in 1980 and quickly became a classic. I wasn't familiar with the cartoon as a kid, just the movie, which I thought was great, so when I saw the action figures in the store, I didn't understand why they looked so different from the people in the movie. At some point, I assumed that Mattel didn't have the license to make the figures based on the movie characters, so they had based them on the old 1930s comic strip. But it wasn't until years later that I would learn about the cartoon and realize that the toys were based on that rather than either the 1980 movie or the old comic strip. After finally seeing the cartoon, it was clear that Mattel had actually done a pretty good job of making most of the figures look a lot like the cartoon characters. Although all of the Flash Gordon figures were based on the characters from the cartoon, some, more obviously, came from the cartoon than others. Lizard Woman wasn't actually a single character in the cartoon, but more of a species of lizard-like humanoids. That means that you could have multiple Lizard Woman figures in your collection, just like you might have had a bunch of Stormtroopers from Star Wars or Cobra Troopers from G.I. Joe. Although the Lizard Women in the cartoon did sometimes carry spears, they didn't have a detailed axe type of head like the one that came with the action figure. Also, the Lizard Woman in the cartoon wore a black and green one-piece bodysuit, while the figure was simply 2 different shades of green. I suspect this was a cost-cutting measure rather than an artistic choice. The Lizard Woman action figure was also a different color green than the Lizard Women in the cartoon. That could have been to better appeal to the kids who made up their target audience for the toys. Although the Lizard Woman action figure was surely based on the Lizard Women in the cartoon, I suspect that the Lizard Women in the cartoon were based on the Lizard Men from the old comic strips. They didn't appear as often as some of the other creatures on Planet Mongo, but their inclusion in the cartoon was probably at least somewhat based on the characters that existed in the comic strips. Overall, I'm glad they made a figure for the Lizard Woman. She's a cool figure, and even if you didn't have any of the other figures from the Flash Gordon line, you could include her in the adventures of your other lines of 3 3/4-inch action figures. From the Cantina aliens in Star Wars, to the random creatures in Battlestar Galactica, or aliens in Star Trek the Motion Picture, the Lizard Woman fit in well with a variety of different lines. I even think she fit in well with the aesthetic of the Clash of the Titans figures, and I'm sure there are other lines that I'm not thinking about right now as well that could have benefited from a Lizard Woman figure. Did you have any of the Flash Gordon action figures as a kid? Do you collect them now? Who's your favorite figure in the line? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a like and share it on social media. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notifications bell so that you'll be notified when I post new videos. And one last thing, if you're a fan of toys, you should know about ToyLanta, the biggest toy show in the southeastern United States, held annually just north of Atlanta, Georgia. Visit ToyLanta.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching.